This video will introduce the ChemSee stationary EYAL system and demonstrate proper employee use of said system. If you have any questions about the EYAL system, please contact ChemSee at country code 1-919-515-0741 or via email at customersupport@chemsee.com. More information is available online at www.chemsee.com. This video will primarily focus on employee usage of the EYAL stationary system. In order to give an employee a thorough understanding of the EYAL system, both the problems addressed by the system as well as a general background of the system will be provided. The EYAL system exists to monitor the dose of gas a person is exposed to and to calculate the time-weighted average of the exposure. This time-weighted average is then compared with set safety protocols. Permissible exposure limits, or PELs, refer to the maximum concentration of a chemical that a person is allowed to be exposed to over an 8-hour workday, 220 days per year. Short-term exposure limits, or STELs, refer to the maximum concentration of a chemical that a person may be exposed to for a time period of 10 or 15 minutes. These values have been established by a variety of agencies all over the world, such as the government agency OSHA in the United States. These numbers change with the type of gas and with the organization that produces the value. Exposure is measured in exposure dose. Exposure dose is the amount of toxic material that a person has absorbed during exposure. Exposure dose is proportional to the product of the average concentration and the exposure time. In order to calculate the exposure dose, two values are needed. These values are the gas concentration and the exposure time. To compare the exposure dose with standards such as PELs and STELs, a time-weighted average is needed. To derive a time-weighted average, you divide the exposure dose by the exposure time. The EYAL system solves a variety of problems that plague other dosimeters on the market today. The EYAL system delivers results instantly. The dosimeters used with the EYAL system can be read multiple times during the day to provide exposure during different operations, different places, and different times. The system has a low operating cost, which means tests can be conducted more frequently. This expedited and streamlined exposure data results in a safer work environment. The EYAL system also takes all of the data collected and systematically records it. With other forms of monitoring, the dosimeter collects a sample throughout the day, but only can be analyzed once, typically in a lab. External data analysis can take anywhere from a couple of days to several weeks to complete. The time lag between exposure and analysis prevents a timely reaction and planning. As a result, the manager does not know the exposure in real time and therefore cannot utilize his personnel effectively. The data flow with other types of systems are inefficient and unconsolidated. The EYAL system is made up of four main components: a direct read passive dosimeter, a digital electronic reader, a computer, and a software package. The EYAL system owes its versatility and adaptability to these color-changing disposable dosimeter cards. Dosimeters exist for a variety of toxic gases routinely found in the industrial setting. These cards are meant to be carried on a person, near their face, exposed to open air, or hung from a static location. Each dosimeter contains a chromophore specifically designed to undergo a color-changing reaction when exposed to a particular type of toxic gas. Based off this color change, the EYAL system can calculate the dose of gas to which a person is exposed and compare that with standard PELs. A wide variety of dosimeters exist for different gas types. These gas types include hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, formaldehyde, ozone, carbon monoxide, aromatic amines, chlorine, hydrazine, and ammonia. The digital electronic reader of the stationary system interfaces with a Windows-based computer using a simple USB connection. All of the power for the unit comes from the USB itself, allowing the unit to operate without a need for an external power supply. The reader can be purchased with or without a digital LCD display, and an array of LEDs is used to provide the user with feedback during a dosimeter reading. All EYAL systems require a computer running a Windows operating system. The computer must have both an available USB port to connect the digital electronic reader and a CD drive for software installation. The software consolidates information such as employee/location name, the time and date of the reading, gas type, location of toxic gas exposure, relative humidity, and the activity being performed during the gas exposure. With this information, the software can then calculate both exposure dose and the time-weighted average of the toxic gas exposure. This time-weighted average can be compared with both the permissible exposure limits and short-term exposure limits, which are provided by the software. Employee usage of the EYAL system is quite simple. To ensure proper use, a short checklist can be followed. At the beginning of each workday, a sealed dosimeter within the expiration date should be used. On the outside of the dosimeter pack, the type of dosimeter, the model number, the batch number, and the expiration date are all listed along with customer support information. To open the dosimeter, grasp the foil bag at the corner and begin to tear at the V-notch located on the side of the package. Use caution not to tear the dosimeter inside. Within the package, one will find a single dosimeter corresponding to the model printed on the front of the bag, a brief instruction sheet, and a decantant depending on the type of dosimeter enclosed within the bag. In order to ensure an accurate reading, an initial reading must be taken at the beginning of each day before any toxic gas exposure has occurred. The EYAL system gives a precise, adjusted value that takes environmental effects into account and removes errors caused by variances in individuals' perception of a dosimeter's color change. Taking an initial reading is quite simple. First, you need to start up the EYAL system. Do this by plugging in the digital electronic reader and double-clicking the icon that says ChemSee app located on your desktop. Then, fully insert the dosimeter into the reader, color side up, with the control entering the reader first. A fully inserted card should only have a few millimeters of laminated card body exposed. Second, input your name or identifier, the location of work, type of gas being monitored, activity, and the relative humidity in the workplace. Then, double-click Read and Record Exposure. During the reading, the LED will change from green in color to yellow. When the LED changes back to green, the card is ready to be removed. This should take about 1 second. If an improper reading is obtained, do not attempt to delete or modify. Instead, notify your supervisor. The following clip demonstrates a proper card read. After taking your initial reading, the dosimeter must be affixed to your person near the face. Attach the dosimeter like an ID badge with the color side down, touching your chest. A proper dosimeter placement is demonstrated in the following video. As the dosimeter is exposed to gas throughout the day, the color will change. It is very important that the color change is regularly monitored, especially when the dose of gas approaches the pill. To take any additional readings, follow the same 4-step procedure that was established for the initial reading. At the end of the workday, when no more exposure to toxic gas will occur, it is necessary to take a final reading so that an accurate time-weighted average can be calculated and compared with standard PEL values. To take a final reading, follow the same 4-step procedure that was established for the initial reading. However, make sure that the box marked last reading of the day has been checked. If during your final reading you notice an unusually elevated exposure level, please photograph the dosimeter for submission to a supervisor. After the final reading has been taken, the dosimeter needs to be disposed of. Always discard open dosimeters after use, even if there was minimal or no color change on the dosimeter. follow procedures established by your manager for proper disposal of all used dosimeters. This concludes the employee usage section of this video series. If you have any questions about the EYAL system, please contact our management representative or ChemSee at country code 1-919-515-0741 or by email at customersupport@chemsee.com.